Bollywood unto itself is a genre. So Bollywood filmmakers do not feel beholden to genre. Does that make sense? Where Dev D is a genre-specific film. It's what we call a coming-of-age movie. Anyone know what a coming-of-age movie is?
Coming of age means it's a depiction in a new way, showing youth as a center.
Right.
It's a conflict about that particular age.
Right.
A crisis.
Exactly. It's about someone coming of age through a crisis. The ultimate book, which some of you might have read, which is
Catcher in the Rye.
Thank you, Catcher in the Rye. Yes. Woo. All right, my brain is really funny today. I've been working all day. Yeah, Catcher in the Rye. Okay, G.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. Okay, that is the ultimate coming of age story. We mostly know coming of age stories based upon adolescence because that's when we technically come of age. But you can come of age in any time. It's about realization through crisis, which is exactly what Hero the Fool and Dev D are about. Okay, cinematographically, both filmmakers use the tools of their craft to break from the classic models that they were influenced by. They both use the tools of their craft to open up a new chapter in the way a story can be told. They're not inventing anything. They're just taking what came before, piecing it together into a fresh look at the work. Okay? Because if you think about it, Dev can easily be Pierrot, and Pierrot can easily be Dev. And all that really separates them is culture, language. Okay? And that sort of fits in very well with where the two schools of cinema, Indian and French, converge. Because American cinema, and I have no problem saying this, has started to lose its culture. Now, I know all of you are thinking America doesn't have a culture. Actually, technically speaking, we do. Okay? But because our cinema has become so global, and because we're trying to sell it like we sell hot dogs and Fords, and I don't know what else we sell. Okay? What's that? Coke, right, and McDonald's, okay? Because we're trying to be, spread it so thin, our culture is getting lost. Yes?
I think Quentin is really working on this American culture. All the films he's launching now, like the one with the 40s.
Yeah, Glorious Bastards.
Yes, and then
the Django.
Yeah, so this is totally American culture.
No, I that's a whole other debate. I don't agree with that at all. I think he actually is the worst of McDonald's culture because he thinks that he could say things or do things as a filmmaker without consequence, and that's not fair. American culture, if you want to see some really good American films, take a look at John Cassavetes. Take a look at some filmmakers that are making stuff right now. It's all jumping out of my mind. I'll think of it. I'll write together one email.
The American is not losing his culture; it's losing his identity. The label with what they were living and depicting, they've lost that.
It's a debate whether or not those are the same thing. Okay, but with India, and this is what's exciting for all of you as viewers, as filmmakers, as actors, as writers, as people in this country, is that for the first time, it feels like in a long time, Indian cinema is allowing Indians to really put their culture out there. Not the way that we wish it to be, but the way it is. And I fully understand why a lot of people in this country dislike the film Slumdog Millionaire. Okay? Because they felt that it was almost pejorative, a parody of their culture. Okay? It was looked at through the prism of the Western view. And I understand that. Okay? But that's why it is your responsibility as film viewers, as filmmakers, actors, etc., to ensure that you're telling your stories. And the greatest thing about today, apart from the fact that there's more and more money for these types of films, that there are more and more eyeballs for these types of films, the technology to do it is there. You go out and you buy yourself a digital camera, a Canon 5D, and a Macintosh computer. You're a film studio for $10,000. 20 lakhs or 15 lakhs, you can make a feature film. And that's exciting. That's really exciting. And I think that what is most exciting is that there is an emergence of young voices. And that is exactly what the new wave was all about. It was about shaking up the old and bringing in the new. It was about telling stories, not about our dad's life, not about our granddad's life, not about their war, not about their experiences, but our own experiences. The films will not be perfect, the stories will not be ideal, the characters will be flawed, just like us. And they will serve as a memorial to what is, but they will also be a time capsule. So what I would tell all of you, and I'm sure all of you are, is pay attention to the emergence of these filmmakers. Nurture them. Help them however you can. And helping them, the biggest and best thing you can do is just go watch their movies. Just go watch their movies. Seek them out because they're out there. Okay? And trust me, any filmmaker, all he or she really wants, ladies, come on, all he or she really wants is just people to watch their movies. Okay? Producers are the ones that want to get rich. Okay? So, also, all right, just like the French New Wave, there were a few producers during the French New Wave who were brave enough to make these films. Georges Beauregard was the guy who really kind of produced everything in the New Wave in the 60s. Okay? You know, Kashav and Lunit Manga deserve a lot of credit for what they're bringing to the fore in Indian independence cinema. So that is the cross-section of the two. Does anyone have any last comments before I melt because it's really hot in here, or is it just me?
The Piero, this no, they had wooden expressions. They were running through the expressions, and this movie of Aruna Kashyap, it had very lively expressions, all sexual expressions, sexually oriented, but very active, energetic expressions. So all were talking about sex, but in an active way, energetic way, and emotion, and they were putting it across very brilliantly.
Indeed. So yes.
Watching Pura, for example, we can realize it's a foreign film and we expect it to be like that. But watching Dev D, we didn't expect it, and that's what surprises us, and that's what is new. That we get shocked by seeing the same, both are the same in terms of shocking. If you're in, perhaps I don't know whether in France people were shocked when they first saw that, but when we see...
No, in France when we saw Dev D, we were relieved. Like, oh, they're as crazy as we are.
Right.
Okay.
So Dev D comes out now as a fresh one because it shocks us and makes us think a little bit.
Well, also I think it's this. I think it's, you know, what happens when a third culture,
Right.
or you watch a film that's out of your culture, what happens for you is you don't identify with it. It's a bit like going to the theater. You know that even though that's Shakespeare and it's Hamlet, I'm actually sitting at the NCPA in Bombay. So they can pretend it's Verona all they want, okay? And depending on how well they pretend it's Verona is how good the show is going to be. But I'm going to walk out and I'm going to go to Chapman, all right? So Verona, 16th century, not happening. Well, that's the thing that happens when you watch a film from a different culture. You don't immediately identify with it because culturally there is a divide between you and the story. Culturally there's a divide between you and Pierrot. Culturally there is a divide between you and the DNA of these people, okay? And then when you suddenly see something like Pierrot de Fou, which feels terribly foreign to you, stand up right beside Dev D, and you suddenly see the streams cross, it's very powerful, okay? And it's intended to be. But that's also a testimony to the fact that I don't care where in the world you come from. I don't care where in the world you live. I don't care where in the world, what God you pray to, or what God you don't pray to, all right? Films are about human beings. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we're all more or less hardwired the same way. So we wrap it up in a sari or a three-piece suit. The fact of the matter is we're all dealing with the same emotions, the same trajectories, the same discoveries, okay? And when we represent films the way they are as opposed to the way they wish them to be, obviously there's going to be an intersection. And on that note, I'm going to wind it down. We're here next week on the 29th. Same bat channel, same bat time, okay? Cultural reference. No one got it? Too bad. Yes?
I just haven't, we didn't talk about the structure of both the films.
What do you mean by structure? I mean,
Yeah, form and content.
okay.
So I'm talking about form.
Uh,
So in a film like the French one, you had the jump cuts, you had all these kind of innovations that were happening. But is that happening in Indian cinema as well now?
Well, the thing is this, is actually, the jump cut is something that we don't see anymore, okay? The jump cut is a very, very...
Playing around with film grammar.
No, it's a very, very formative question. The jump cut was something that comes from the Soviet neoliberalism. The jump cut was invented as a means to, okay, let me explain, all right? If we were to film this in real life, okay, if you had a camera, you could film me standing here, okay, and you'd want me to walk to that door, okay? All right? And then you would have the camera on the other side, and I'd walk out the door, and you would edit from the shot that was over here to me walking, cut to that. And the whole idea is for that to be invisible. A jump cut is, I'm standing here, I turn, cut, I'm walking out the door of the auto loft, not even through those glass doors. Now, the reason we don't notice jump cuts anymore is because back when our friends the Frères Lumière were making films, we didn't understand that. We didn't understand that the gesture of this movement meant the character was leaving, so we had to show the character walk all the way through the door out, correct? All right? What the Soviets understood was that cinematic language, which is an entire semester's worth of film class, okay? What they understood is that if we infer the movement and cut to the movement, the audience will figure it out. The reason they did this was not actually, this is going to kick out of this, was not actually because they were geniuses. It's because during the Russian Revolution, they couldn't get film stock into the country. They had a limited amount of film stock coming in. So they knew if they shot 600 frames of me walking out the door, that was 600 frames less they had. So they figured if they shot 20 frames of me going, and then 20 frames of me going, and you got it, they were like, hey, you just saved 560 frames. And that's literally why I grew up. And Zdziga Vertov, who made the film Man with the Movie Camera, you can find that on YouTube. You can watch it, okay? It's free, right? It's German. It's a Russian film from that time. That is a film that was sort of, that and Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin sort of are the real bastions of the jump cut. Zdziga Vertov is actually the brother of a French filmmaker whose name escapes me at the moment, okay? And they brought that jump cut over to France. And Godard and Truffaut and Manet and blah, blah, were all students of that. So they understood that if you watch Abu Dussouf, there's literally a scene where Belmondo's character is on one side of the sidewalk, he moves, cut, he's on the other side of the sidewalk. There are two reasons for it. One is because they understood that it worked, and secondly because they didn't have enough money for film stock. It was the exact same reason. Now today, you guys don't notice the jump cut. Why? Because you're so cinematographically inclined that if you see someone move, you know that cut to, they're moving. I'll give you a perfect example from Spielberg. Don't tell Kaya the cinema I told you this. Okay, but it's really simple. Remember in Schindler's List, when Oscar's sitting there having dinner with his wife? And Oscar says, you really must stay. Warsaw is a beautiful city. And she says, Oscar, I'll only stay if no other doorman, cab driver, or something thinks I'm anyone else but Mrs. Schindler. Right? Edit. She's on the train leaving. She's on a train leaving. What do we understand in the jump cut? He can't promise for that. So he edits out the entire fight, the entire conversation. Story-wise, we get it. We go from eating food to on a train. You don't need anything else. Okay? That is the power of the jump cut. But also another reason that my generation, and those of us underneath us, don't notice jump cuts anymore is because we grew up watching MTV. Okay? I invite you all this evening when you go home to watch V Channel, MTV, even CNN, IBN, any one of these ridiculous channels. Watch a commercial, doesn't matter, just click on the damn tube. Count to 4. Why? If you can count to 4 for edits, I'll give you a cookie. Because it won't. I'll give you 2 cookies. Because what's happened is, now that we edit on computers, there was a time when we used to edit on film, okay? And we used to cut the film, all right? And you have to tape it together and put it down, right? And that was like a marriage. It took like 10